Hello guys, my name is Amit Sani and I welcome you in this daily Hindu analysis video. In the morning these videos come, in the evening the MCQ videos come, and take advantage of both the lessons. Both are available in Hindi and English language, and 29th of June it is. Important articles, sometimes the language of the articles is somewhat on a tougher side, and this kind of article is there today regarding the policy, regarding the RBI and its role, and how it should think about innovations, and some things as conventions, they do not work all the time. So that is a very specific one, a unique one, and a tougher article. So we will understand that. Next article is regarding Chennai's water crisis and all that situation. So let's move ahead. A huge newspaper today. Affordable courses by StudyIQ. The description is given below the video, and all the links are given. You can call on these numbers. You can ask for all the pen drive courses. The website address is given here, and the PDF you will get here on this Facebook group. That the Telegram's link is also given there, and you can follow me on Instagram, and this is the link for my Telegram channel. So PDF will be accessible from here. This article regarding the central bank's role and the issue of their policies, which it is calling as capital infusion. Means it is not in always the funds term. Capital is always a thing that is assistive of the outcome. So ideas, policies and the right approach is also a capital for central banks. This is the saying by Mr. Pulapre Balakrishnan. So here it is talking about the role. Many things are there. You see, we are going through a unique phase where inflation is low, investments are also low, and the growth in the economy, that is not up to the mark. And after many claims of fast growing economy and all, many suspicions are there, because some things are suspicious regarding that. Many experts in the past also, they said that jobless growth is there, and the numbers, they do not match with the kind of growth which we observe there. So many suspicions are there. So economy is a complex subject. Always economists, they have to be updated, they have to think, and they have to look for some updates in the numbers. So here the writer says that world growth is important. This is affecting us, and the way world is moving in the last century, it moved, and now for around 2 decades it is moving. The experience is significantly important for us. The issue of stability is in different terms. Like sometimes they target inflation, and they think that the prices of the commodities, that is the most important thing, and this is sometimes a myopic view. Means you are very much constrained in the fiscal terms, and you are just targeting inflation issue. And the fiscal consolidation is always an aim, and it is always reminded to us that this should be the core aim there. But sometimes we miss many additional issues when we just target the inflation targeting issue. So here this thing is happening for some years in India also, and the West also tried before the 2008 global economic crisis, but they saw the result of it. It starts in with the thing in the article is that maybe many issues are there, but sometimes a central bank may need some of its own medicine. In the past, we heard that the Section 7 was used, and it was a kind of a dictation by the government as the RBI should move in this way, and many times we heard the questions of autonomy and all. So pressures are there, but efficiency is not at the 100% level that the RBI is working with. Many important officials they left here from the top of the jobs, like Raghuram Rajan first, then Urjit Patel, then now Acharya. So they all resigned from the post. There must be some reasons, and there must be some confusions there. There must be some incapabilities there, and maybe the autonomy issue is a reason for all of those things. But here it says that we need to reflect on the role. An economic arrangement once made cannot be treated as settled for all the times to come. Means when RBI Act established RBI, the central role was given bankers, bank to the. So I'm very sorry, bankers to the banks. This is the role decided for the RBI, and banker for the government, that is again a role. So in a way, regulation for the financial sector, for the banking sector, and assistive role for the government. That is the main aim. This is decided in a way, and governments always want to keep prices low for the political reasons. So they will try to pressurize the RBI also to the central government also, and it happens in many of the countries. So this is the established norm. But the writer says that it is not a sacrosanct. Not always you can follow the same rules there. Maybe some other issues are extremely important, like looking for the banking sector NPA crisis, employment issue, the investment issues, and some other expansionary measures. They are also very much crucial and important at this particular phase. But for the last 5-6 years, we just have been targeting inflation there. We created a monetary policy committee, and RBI is exclusive with that, and the main issue is the inflation targeting anyhow, and they are deciding about the interest rates and all, but they are not always helping, because whatever they targeted, that is not achieved just with the aim which they took. There were several reasons, like world growth was also a reason, and the growth in the economy was also a reason that inflation came down after 2013, and the international oil prices, they were also a major reason that inflation came down. So two important reasons writer is citing here, and it says that the world growth and the world economy is also a reason. You see, West have been emphasizing on the capitalism issue, and there was a big difference in the Eastern economies and the Western economies on this point. Like Western one, they were more about the capitalist ways, and Eastern one, like Soviet Union, was the socialist country and the planned economy, and China was also on a different pace, like on the communist ways and all. India was also going with the Hindu rate of growth. So when this disintegration happened for Soviet Union, before that they decided, they established the Washington Consensus. There were 10 important principles that they went with. What are these 10 important provisions? You see, fiscal discipline, reorientation for public expenditures, tax reforms, financial liberalization, trade liberalization, competitive exchange rates, openness to FDI, privatization, deregulation, and secure property rights. These all things are very much basic to the capitalist ways. So in a way, they tried to make this thing as a sacrosanct, that this is the best way, we should move with that. But after 20 years, when this global financial crisis happened and this recession came in 2008, all these things they had to rethink in a way, because some things failed there, and the Washington Consensus, the principles, they didn't prove to be the best ones. So again, they had to rethink about the issue. So it's like the case that we are also following the same example which was there in the Western countries before 2008. Right now the case is going on in India, where we are targeting consistently the inflation issue, but other important points we are undermining in some sense, and that's why the NPA crisis happened, and that's why the employment scenario is so bad, and that's why many speculations are there that maybe the growth numbers are not correct. Suspicions are there regarding the jobless growth, and suspicions are there regarding the statistics which has been posed in front of us. So that's why, and many signs are also there, like people from NSC, they resigned from the post, from RBI people resigned from the posts. So there must be some things which are not being managed efficiently. So here the writer does not talk about that, but it says that central bank has a very important role, and always it has to calibrate that. And it is the Western example when they followed the great moderation and they targeted the inflation issue solely, and they had the consequence of it. They could not maintain the banks issue, the ARC companies issues, and they could not think about the particular economic observation, the employment scenario, and all these things combinedly led to that financial crisis. So that's why it's again a kind of a great learning for us that we should not put inflation targeting at the core of the macroeconomic policy. It is not just a single goal. Fiscal consolidation and observation of the economy in balanced way and adjustment according to the time, that is the core issue there about the economy. You cannot just sit on a particular rule and you just follow it always. You cannot always follow the inflation issue. Two instances of failure in the past from the RBI's management, when after 2013 the real policy rates they increased substantially and the borrowing declined, and that's why the investment came down heavily, and after that investment has been coming down gradually, and in the last 4-5 years investment is at the all-time low. So when it is all-time at low, then we have to rethink about some ways, and public investment, private investment, both are not coming. And the NPA crisis is the additional factor where it is blocking the investment there, because people are not able to borrow there, banks are not able to give them some money. So that's why these two big failures are there. And whatever they are claiming, the government is claiming about the inflation targeting, and they are saying that we have been keeping the inflation low, and this is the biggest achievement for us economically, and they are just talking about that inflation control. The writer says that maybe it is not coming out of those approaches by the government and the RBI. Maybe it was due to the slow economic growth, because in the slow economic growth also inflation comes down, because there is no sale in the market, then obviously the rates will come down. So inflation, low inflation rates, and the declining price of the oil, where it was around $140 to $140 for per barrel before 2013, and it came down heavily, and it came to $40 to $50 per barrel within 1 year. And these rates were at a very low level for the last 4-5 years. Then it was a big reason that the inflation came down. Although according to this oil scenario, these should have come down more if they would have gone more according to the international prices. As the UPA government said that we would go according to the international prices, and the prices of the petrol, diesel, they would be market oriented. So that's why they are rising, because the international price is rising. So the same way was followed by the NDA government, but they did not follow it when the prices came down internationally. Then they did not go for heavy down pricing in the economy. And if they would have gone, then more inflation would have come down. So that was the case, because the oil impacts a lot, and we are heavily dependent on that. So that is the case. So the two big reasons were there for the low inflation. So it is not like a proper thing to say that all the chest thumping of the government is true. We cannot say that, because big reasons were there for the low inflation there. So that's why they say that there were regions apart from the inflation targeting, and the inflation targeting should not always be the goal. So that's why RBI has to think about the issue, and RBI has to manage its own affairs, and it should not always go for some dictation to the government that fiscal consolidation is the main goal, go for that. It is not like that. RBI has to manage its own affairs. Already it is struggling with the autonomy issues, and some efficiency problems are there, so they should focus on those things. That is the case, writer is saying, and it says that central bank should be autonomous in all the sense, and it should not be a slave to some defunct school of thought, like they are targeting the inflation and they have made it a school of thought. So it should not be there. And writer quotes its own report there. They observed the economic scenario for the last 4-5 years, and the RBI is working. So it's a message that the writer is giving there. So that is the case. Next article, important for GS paper 1, 2, 3, 4 and essay topic, because it's a very common topic related to the life of the poor. Social situation is there because the life of the poor is at stake, because they will be the first who would be vanished in this state of affairs, where the basic problems like water, sanitation, pollution, they are impacting the life of the poor, and the poor would be what we should say, the biggest victim of all these things, because rich can manage, and the ways the rich is living its life, it is creating a lot of menace for the poor people. The way it pollutes the environment, the way it pollutes the water bodies, the way they are exploiting the water bodies, and they are not taking care about the replenishment and the water harvesting and the management of the water bodies, wetlands and all, and they are ignoring this thing to create a havoc in the poor's life, because poor cannot manage all these issues. It is just dependent on others. So that's why, if all things which are bad and inefficient and inadequate, if the poor would be dependent on those things, then the poor's life is at stake. And as the inequality persists in India, so it would be the biggest victim always. And now it's a time that the crisis is of basic thing, that is the water, and there is no solution. 6,000 rupees is there for a particular tanker in Chennai, and they are bound to implement those measures where they will get water from the ocean, they will purify it, and they will have to drink it. This is the condition, and that is the last condition where humans will be moving towards ocean for the drinking water. And this is happening now, and they have ignored a lot. They have ignored all the wetlands, they have ignored all the water harvesting issues. In the writings, both these writers, they say that no rains in the last 200 days, groundwater overexploited, extremely low levels. Rainwater harvesting, they made a goal in 2000 year. Then in 2003 it was made mandatory by the Jayalalitha government, but nobody followed that. Now when this kind of crisis is there, before that there was an issue of flooding in December 15, and now they are targeting the bodies which are not implementing the water harvesting issue, because there is the crisis. So it is like the firefighting issue. When there is a fire, then you go there and you will pour water on that fire. So it is like that, but you cannot manage that because it's a crisis. You cannot replenish the water bodies in a 5-10 days time, or maybe in a 1 month's time. It takes years. But now they are taking action against those bodies who had not implemented the water harvesting structures. But the embarrassing thing is that there are police stations, there are municipality buildings who are flouting these norms openly. Why these clearances were given? This is a big question. In the last 16 years, they have been giving all these clearances, and nobody is following those structures. Nobody is following those norms, and they heavily ignore that because there is no problem normally, and the rich can manage that, and it is a problem always for the poor people. But who cares for the poor? That's the case. Not even the authorities, not even the political classes, and not even the rich class. Always they all ignore the poor. Now why I am talking about the poor again and again, which does not find a mention in the article, because ultimately he or she is the victim there. If we talk about the pollution problem, if we talk about the climate change problem, we talk about the heat waves issues, we talk about the extreme cold conditions in cities like Delhi or any other North Indian city. So always the poor is dying there. And here the situation has reached up to a level where I told you that 6,000 rupees tanker, only rich can afford there. And government ignores. Government says that it's not a crisis, so do not make it like that, do not report it like that, and we can manage that. And what is the solution there? They have just announced that 10 million liters a day would be given to Chennai city. And what is the population there? That is around 10 million. Means 1 liter for one person for whole day. Can you imagine? Can they manage with 1 liter of water? No. So it's a dire crisis, but it has been building, but nobody cared about that. They did not go for the cleaning of the lakes and all. They did not dig their bottoms, and the cleaning was not there. Desilting process did not happen. Now they are bound to plant those important machines which will be purifying the water from the ocean, and desalination machines would have to be deployed there. Otherwise it's a dire crisis. But you see, it's again a fortunate thing that ocean is very near there, and they can anyhow get the water. Maybe it is very much expensive, but what is the condition again? That's why I told you poor would not be able to afford that. So that's the case. And here it is the ignorance going on. During the flooding also, they created this menace for themselves. They built all the buildings in low-lying areas where the drains were there, and all these wetlands were there, and all these satanic people who just want money at any cost. They went for these projects and all. They anyhow got the clearances from the political parties and all, and they blocked all the ways of the water drainage. And that's why this kind of flooding that killed a lot of people, devastated many of the lives, and again due to water crisis many of the lives are devastated. So what's going to happen with our cities? Cities have a lot of density, and all people are coming there for the sake of employment there. But what is the condition? This is the imbalance that we are talking about consistently, and it is all at risk. If the monsoonal rains are fine and the consistent supply of the water is there, then it is okay. Otherwise it can be a menace within a single day. If one day water supply is not there, if one day electricity is not there, then everyone understands what is the problem that these experts are talking about. But anyhow it goes on. But till when? Till when? Because it is reaching up to the level that we have exploited everything there, and we are not able to do anything about that. So that is the case. So encroachment of the wetlands and not working on the water harvesting issue. These two are the biggest troubles that are the reasons for both flooding and the water crisis. And it says that 21 Indian cities will run out of groundwater by 2020. Means no groundwater. And you see, some cities are just surviving on the groundwater only. And in those cities, like in the eastern Rajasthan, Haryana cities, they are just dependent on those groundwaters. Otherwise, they do not have anything other way. No river is there in the vicinity. No canals are possible there. So what's going to happen? These areas will be deserted in the future. So what's going to happen? That is the case, and we are not being aware about that. We are not very much active about that. We are still ignorant. Why? Because they do not address that with the utter intensity. Warlike efforts are needed, and as they say that the third world war would happen on the issue of water crisis, the drinking water crisis, and this is in front of us. So it all depends on us. Our existence depends on us. And one more thing is the moral issue. We are ignoring the life of poor consistently. And till when poor will be suffocated? Till when it will remain like that? One day would come when they all will be united and they all will want to take revenge from the rich class, because they every day they see that how major cities are getting water, and the areas in the vicinity, the poor people, they are struggling for that. And around the city of Mumbai, they see what is the problem. All around the city there is no water, but the water is being supplied to the city there. So till when these people will bear these things? Till when all these sympathies and the cold sprinkles will work? And that's why this will again come back to the ignorant people, the urban people, the rich people. It will come back to them in any sense, and that's why the links will go far away. That is the case, and this is how you should join the topics. The poverty, the frustration, the unemployment, and all the social problems, and the climate change issue, the water crisis, and the imbalanced urbanization, all these things are connected in a way. You should find all those links, and these will make important points in your answer writing. Okay. Solutions are given here: desilting of the lakes and employing those important machines which will purify the water from the ocean, and changing the policies, the myopic policies which have been there, which are giving these false sanctions to the companies, to the departments, clearances to the bodies which are not following the norms, the water harvesting norms and all. And now when they are having the consequences, so the people who are responsible, they should be behind the bars. They should ultimately be behind the bars. And ultimately, you see, I always say, actually the officers and all, they bear the brunt, and they always are suspended and all, but the real culprits are the politicians. They always create this pressure on these officials, and they actually are responsible for many of the problems India faces today. We should go behind that. They should be behind the bars. Many times we ignore them, and they always shift the burden to the officials and any other person. So that is the case. Till the time they will not be punished, till the time these things will not change ever, because always we see they are at ease and they never have any kind of negative consequence when they are in power. So that's the case. Next, the news that came to yesterday, that Bombay High Court upholds the reservation issue for the Marathas, and they changed it anyhow. 16% was given to them, making a separate category in the law, and Bombay High Court says go for 13%, but at least 13% they are allowing here. But the problem remains that this verdict is questionable. It should be re-examined, because today the article came regarding that. It says that you are creating categories there. You could have include them in the OBC list, which is having just 19% there. Normally it is 27% for the OBCs, but it is 19% there. And you should have included these people in the OBC category. They needed some upliftment with systematic way, and if they are educationally backward, socially backward, then you should have included into that, so that it could not have created a controversy. It could not have set a different trend. But now you are setting a different trend. They are making a specialized category, and now all states, all dominant groups who can create political pressure, they will have this way. This channel is open to all of them. Even the center is flouting the norm of 50% rule, that 50% should be the reserved categories and 50% should be the unreserved category. But even the center government flouted this norm, introducing the economically backward section, and here you are creating a separate category. Now all the dominant sections in this country who are not actually that much weak, but they are dominant politically, so they can have their way there. So that is the problematic scene there, and you should have included them into the OBC list, but you ignored that and you went with the political sympathy there, and you will exploit that for sure in the elections. We all know about that, and that's why this separate category is created for that, so that you can specify people there. And you may say tomorrow that you were exclusive there, and the category was created for that, and exclusively you are the you are the deserving people for this particular reservation, and this category is made for you. So that is the case. So this is a questionable thing. It needs examination there. Expert panels are suggesting something different, but they are moving in a political way as the intention says. So that's the case. Other articles will come next week. Bigger articles will come on this topic because it is not a small issue, and always on the bigger issues, bigger articles will come. National Mission on Natural Language Translation, that will be there soon, and it's a 100 days action plan. You see, these are the numbers, percentage of the mother tongue speakers, and for their help, English and native language translations will be available. And Ministry of Electronics and IT, that is making this plan. They are going to implement this, and there is a principal scientific advisor to the Prime Minister, and there is a body called PMSTIAC, Prime Minister Science and Technology and Innovation Advisory Council. So they are supporting that. They are an overarching council and facilitates the PSA office, the Principal Scientific Advisor's office. So they will have specific interventions there. They will implement it, and it's a action plan. 100-day action plan means it will be very much soon, and 450 crore rupees proposal it is. So this is gonna be a mission there. So that's important. Next, center releases action plan on higher education. As we discussed about the WPI and the team and its revamping, now again an important issue of higher education, a specific thing, a specific area, and that needs a lot of attention, a lot of support there, and mainly the fund they need. So 1.5 lakh crore rupees will be invested in next 5 years, and the EQUIP, Education Quality Upgradation and Inclusion Program, that has been into discussion for some years now. They will implement it. It is a kind of action plan now. It is not implemented yet. They created an expert panel for that, and that was a kind of a drafting expert body. So 80 experts, 10 teams were there. Eminent academicians, scientists, industrialists were there. So they recommended many important things, like 50 initiatives they recommended, and they said that methods are also given here. You just have to implement that, and you need fund there. Extreme need is there for the higher education sector, and 1.5 lakh crore rupees will not be enough. But anyhow, something would be there, some improvement would be there. It would bring big changes if it is implemented in a letter and spirit of that. So that's the case. Next bigger article will come on the G20 Summit, so we will not waste our time here because these are some formalities, and Trump has announced that big trade deal would be there. So on that issue also, we will have many articles in the next week. So we will discuss in the month of July that. In the first week, these things will come. Next, China tests ballistic missile of JL-3. It is going to be the SLBM, submarine launched ballistic missile. And JL-3 will have the range of 14,000 kilometers. You see, it's a ballistic missile. Ballistic path is like that. So it has bigger ranges. Cruise missile goes like that, and the height is very less from the ground. So it's a cruise missile. It's a ballistic missile. Ballistic missiles are dangerous one, and they normally takes the nuclear warhead and all. So that's why it's a dangerous one. So we can make many talks on the local media and all, but the reality is that China's efficiency is way bigger. Their investment in the defense sectors are huge, and 14,000 kilometers is the range. That's a global range. Means this capacity we do not have today. Agni 5 is there, which is having capacity 5 to 10,000 kilometers, and Agni 6 we are developing there. But China is reaching up to 14,000 kilometers range, and that would be launched from underwater, means submarine launched missile. So that would be a very specific one. So that's the case. They may ask about this detail. Now alarming situation, just like the condition we discussed about the Chennai. This is the picture from France and a place called Galergy-le-Monteau. There the temperature was 46 degrees centigrade, 46, unimaginable in a European country. And you see the previous record was around 43 degrees centigrade, and 44 was recorded in 2003. Now in 2019, and consistently it is very high since 15 years. So 15 to 19 warmest years, and now reaching up to 46 degrees centigrade. What else is left if we are not talking about the climate change global warming issue? If Trump says anything, we cannot pay attention to that. Trump says it's a hoax, but is it a hoax that 46 degrees is the reaching point for a European country, cold country and a higher latitude country? 46 degrees centigrade temperature. This is really surprising, and we have to take warlike efforts. And all these countries, they are covered into these heat waves and all. If this is reaching up to 46 degrees, then something is really, really dangerous, and it's a big question mark on our existence. So they are giving you important points for the mains. These are great examples and very unfortunate examples. Okay. Next, current account deficit. You see, we do export and import, and the difference is the deficit or the surplus there, and this is mainly counted into current account. So if it is more imports, then it would be a current account deficit. Okay, and if it is more an export, then current account surplus. But always we have deficits because of the oil situation. We are resultant importer. Now in this information, the news is that current account deficit tapers, means it was recorded low, and that's why our forex reserves, they are at all-time high at 4 to 6.41 billion dollars. It's a huge number for India, and although it is very less in comparison to China and other countries, but if we compare it with the previous levels, then it's a very nice number, very satisfactory number, and it is rising because the deficit was low, because we are paying other countries from the forex reserves only. So that's why it's a case, and low imports were there in the previous phase in the quarter 4. So that was the case. January to March period, they are evaluating here, and 4 to 6.41 billion dollar is the sufficient number there. So we have to see what goes in the future. We have many apprehensions, many understandings, but many challenges there.